Like pixels on a screen, these are the games of our lives.
Welcome back to the Games of Our Lives. This is episode 5, and it's a special occasion, Mike. We finally did it. We're now sponsored by the king himself, the Burger King. It's Chaboy MC Tendercrisp, and joining me this week is the cheese to my Whopper, Mike.
I was not expecting this at all. How are you doing, Chris?
So what have you been up to, Mike? Have you played any video games?
Yeah, actually, I've been playing Ziggurat. Have you ever seen that before?
I know what a Ziggurat is, but I don't know what the game Ziggurat is about.
So it came out, I think, end of last year, and it is, it's a roguelike. Oh, but,
Shock.
No, it's a first-person shooter.
Okay.
And have you ever? The closest analog I can think of is Tower of Guns. Have you ever seen that?
I've heard of that. Yes.
So it's randomly generated. You start off kind of weak, and then there's some RPG elements, and the dungeons are different every time. Ziggurat has sort of a magic and fantasy layer on top of it. So you're a magician, and this is sort of you're working your way through the trials. But it's fun. Probably the gameplay is probably closest to, I would say, Quake, in terms of the feel of it.
So it's like pretty frenetic.
Yeah. It's fast moving. Generally, the enemies are big and take a lot of shots, so you're doing a lot of circle strafing.
Okay.
It's definitely not. There's not the attention to gun detail that I think marks a lot of first-person shooter these days.
But it's magic, or is it actually guns?
It's magic. So it's
okay.
So your main weapon is a wand, and that's sort of infinite ammo that regenerates. And then you have different classes. So you have like a spell, you have a different magic wand that's basically your machine gun, and then you have what's called alchemy, which maybe is your explosives. And that's all. Health and mana are pretty much the only health, mana, and experience are basically the only pickups.
Okay, I'm guessing that in order to keep the frenetic pace up, that the graphics are pretty lo-fi? They
are. I would say it looks sharp. It looks colorful. I actually had the same problem with Tower of Guns, in that I kind of get a headache if I play it too often.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if that's me getting old. It doesn't seem... It seems to be unique to this sort of genre of like...
Well, you know what? It could be field of view settings tend to do that for a lot of people for first-person games. Is that the field of view can affect like your the way you perceive motion.
That's definitely possible. I think Tower of Guns it was worse because it sort of has this. It's a steampunk look, and it just sort of looks like they smear Vaseline on the screen. It's a little weird. Everything kind of looks blurry.
This sounds like a Kickstarter game that I backed called Strafe, which is a de-resed first-person 3D, roguelike kind of first-person shooter that is pretty frenetic. So it seems like a lot of these are coming out, which is cool.
I mean, they're a lot of fun. It's just sort of instant pickup. What's nice about this one is that it really... I think a recent update lets you save pretty much every time. So even if a playthrough takes, half hour, 40 minutes, and you don't have to finish it, you can save and quit and go back to it, which is always appreciated.
Okay, yeah. So runs could take a long time, it seems like.
Yeah, it's definitely not quick. And sometimes it's annoying because you have your little pea shooter, and you're literally just kind of circling the same monster, just waiting. It takes a while. So you do kind of need a little bit of patience just from that perspective.
Is it just enemies you're dealing with, or is there stuff in the environment you have to deal with, like platforming?
Yeah, there's a little bit. There are trap rooms. They're nothing too frustrating, although I would say it takes me a long time to get... When I open a room that's full of lava, I'm just like, oh, the hell with this. I'm coming back. Hopefully I don't have to do this to beat the level. Because the jumping is... a little iffy, I think, trying to platform the platform.
Is there a lot of? There's like a lot of momentum in the jumps.
No, it's not. It's not that bad, but it's just when you jump and then you look down and you think you're gonna have more momentum than you do.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm just bad at first person.
3D jumping puzzles aren't that great.
I was gonna say I'm trying to think of what
Half-Life 2 for reference, or the original Half-Life.
Yeah, and that's on the good ends of handling them well.
Yeah, that sounds pretty rough.
Yeah, that's a tough nut to crack. I don't know if any game, maybe something like Mirror's Edge, but that was entirely focused on first person jumping.
Yeah, I mean, if that's your one thing, you should hopefully be able to do it well.
Yeah, but I mean, Ziggurat's a lot of fun. It's $15. It was half price on one of the Steam sales. That's why I grabbed it.
Cool. Sounds good.
But how about you? What have you been up to?
Well, with the 1.0 release of Kerbal Space Pogrom, wait, that's a different game. Kerbal Space Program. The Pogrom is different.
You're thinking Papers, Please?
Yeah. Oh, I want those games to exist in the same world. It's Ars Troika is just a continent on Kerbin.
All right, I'll start the fan fiction.
Okay, I'm already there. Yeah, so I've been digging into the 1.0 update, and I hadn't been back in a long time, so there's a lot of new stuff. Like, for example, female Kerbins.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a big one. The graphics have been improved significantly. They've added more realistic arrow forces, particularly during re-entry. Like, one of my first rockets, everything just burned up on re-entry. I was like, wait a minute, that wasn't in the game before. I never had to worry about re-entry before. I could just have a Kerbin fall through the atmosphere and be fine.
And just sort of land on the ground and just start wandering.
Yeah. So there's a lot of neat details and stuff in there, and the career mode is really satisfying. You sort of start with very basic equipment and have to science and money and reputation your way to getting access to all of the toys. To me, it's more satisfying earning it than just having the full sandbox right away. But I mean, they didn't take that mode away. You could still do that. They've really fleshed out the game from this sandbox, build spaceships and sort of explore this universe to a real sort of game where you are managing a space program for a fictional planet. It's really cool. So I mean,
a fictional communist regime.
Yeah, where everybody serves the space program because that's the only place where civilization is.
So would you say it's more or less intimidating being structured that way?
I'd say for first timers, it is a lot less intimidating if you start out on the career mode, because literally all you have to start out with is a command pod, a tiny fuel tank, a tiny engine, and a solid rocket booster. You can't go wrong with that. You strap a command pod to a solid.
See about that.
You strap a command pod to a solid rocket booster. You hit the space bar, and you get all of this great feedback from the game's system telling you, hey, this is a new speed record. This is a new altitude record. Hey, you made it to space. Here's some bonus money in science. So they really sort of, the gating that they put in really helps new players, I think.
I mean, that's basically how that's their equivalent of a tutorial, is just they ration it out slowly.
I mean, there are tutorial missions in there that sort of teach you how the controls and everything work.
Have you gone far enough to get to the more complicated, like the orbital patterns and stuff like that?
Yeah, you have to. So in the career mode, one thing that veteran players will notice is that their map screen is not as effective. You can't plan trajectories until you upgrade it at least once, which costs like 200,000 space bucks. So you're not going to be able to get to do that stuff for a while. So it's a lot of going on feel, and having experience with the game definitely helps. And I mean, really, you can get to that point just by sort of orbiting the home planet once. Getting, and then and they added a system with where there's now different types of Kerbin pilots, where you could have a pilot, a guy who specializes in piloting, specializing in fixing things, and specializes in science. And they earn experience as they do missions and as they do new things. And as they gain levels, they sort of get better at the things they're doing. So when the pilot levels their first level up, the basic pilot gets the stability assistance, which is critical. The next level of the pilot gets the ability to remain stuck to some of the velocity vectors, and then as you level up, you gain access to basically push a button, automatically follows a maneuver node eventually.
Okay, so you think the progression and how it unlocks things is fast enough? Because I hate to think that you have to grind your way through Kerbal now.
If you have some semblance, some idea of what you're doing, there's not a lot of grinding. I would say it's gated properly. If you're totally blind, you'll need to understand, obviously it's still a sandbox game at heart. There's no hard and fast goals. I mean, you can get contracts to do specific things like orbit the planet or orbit the moon or just fly by the moon. But they don't tell you how to get there.
I'm sorry, orbit the what?
The moon, sorry.
Okay, so it sounds like I really got to go back to it. Kerbal's one of those video games that when people attack video games, you can kind of pull out as being like, oh no, this game teaches you about rocket science.
Yeah, it's really you learn a lot pretty quickly. I've been playing, I've dumped about, I've also started over a couple times, but I probably dumped about 20 hours into this fresh game, and I'm already doing a lot of stuff that I wasn't able to do in previous games or I never got around to doing. If you're used to having a lot of that equipment unlocked at the start, some of it is kind of deep into the tree. So if you're used to using some of that equipment, there's a bit of a learning curve in figuring out how to use the stuff that they've given you to achieve the same effect, until you can get at that equipment.
You only use the massive solid boosters.
Yeah, if you only use the heaviest of rockets, you're kind of boned for a while, but it'll teach you how to use the smaller stuff.
And if you're a pro, would you maybe recommend career mode to an experienced player who has gone to the moon?
Yeah, and you could adjust the difficulty even on the fly, where pilot death is permanent, and you can't revert flights. I mean, you can still do quick saves, but there's a lot of on the fly difficulty adjustment that you can do to sort of make whatever experience you want, or you could just dip into the sandbox mode. It's still there.
All right, sounds great. Anything you're looking forward
to? Yeah. So, on Amazon today, I purchased the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection, which is a PS3 compilation, and I got it for a little bit off. It's usually $45. I got it for $30. On 2 discs for PS3, it has Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, Peace Walker, the HD remakes of those. Metal Gear Solid 4, the complete edition or whatever it's called. Metal Gear 1 and 2, the original games.
Oh, interesting.
And a voucher for a digital download of Metal Gear Solid 1. So it literally has every Metal Gear game on it except for the card games.
And I guess the upcoming one, right?
Well, 5. No, it doesn't have Ground Zeroes or Phantom Pain. But I've heard a lot. There's been a lot of people in my life who've talked about Metal Gear to me and said how great it was. So I'm ready to dip into the batshit craziness. Unfortunately, I won't get any of the real crazy shit in 1 where you have to switch controller ports.
I'm kind of curious if you're going back through 1. I'm curious to hear how you like the game, because I think a lot of the mechanics is now being antiquated.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that. So I mean, I will probably go through in order. So we'll probably hear a lot about my approach to those controls that are definitely. I mean, it uses a PS3. It's on a PS3, so it still has the pressure sensitive buttons. So it still has all that functionality. I am personally interested in how the digital version of 1 will work with regards to the crazy stuff that, like, looking up Meryl's codec number and the reading the memory card and switching the controller port. I don't even know how it would handle that on a digital version.
When I first got a phone that I could actually change the ringtone to, I changed the text alert to the ring. Yeah, the exclamation point.
Yeah,
which was genius, of course. But then it wasn't even a Metal Gear Solid game. Actually, it was Little Big Planet came out with their Metal Gear Solid level, and I tried to play it and I couldn't because even this was years after I don't have that phone anymore. I would every time I hear that sound, I reach into my pocket.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's Pavlovian, but
yeah, but yeah, I mean,
so they're great games. It would be you can't really come into them new, right? Because they've been ingrained into the gaming
it's
culture,
got this
right?
weird like continuity to it that is kind of like a book series, but it's in video games. It's
actually the books actually are much better. I don't know if you've read them, but no.
yeah, no. The 10-hour cutscene that is all of the cutscenes strung together are very interesting.
Oh no, they're phenomenal games. I never played the original Metal Gears.
They're for the NES era, so they're not for their time. I imagine they were great, but yeah, I'm mostly looking forward to playing the Solid games because, as I said, a lot of people have talked at me about them.
What's kind of funny is at least you'll be doing it with the right controller, because I remember I played Twin Snakes, which was the GameCube Metal Gear Solid,
and
then I played Metal Gear Solid 3 on the Nintendo DS. So
wait, what?
Yeah, that's right. I got Snake Eater on the 3DS.
That's weird. I didn't even know that came out.
It did, and I have it.
Wow.
It's very difficult to do. I will say it just doesn't lend itself well. So It's kind of nice that you get to go back with your at least original PlayStation controller. It'll feel right.
Yeah, I sort of got on this kick after playing Rising: Revengeance. Obviously, they're completely different kinds of games, but I was just fascinated by the crazy batshit story. So I was like, I kind of want more of that.
I just really enjoy that. That's your entry into the whole.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Weirdness. It's unapologetically bizarre. I mean, I think they're a delight, the whole thing, but you can't at all take them seriously.
Yeah.
But I consider that a good thing. Like, to me, that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. What about you? What are you what's on your horizon?
No, nothing really new this week. I saw Project Cars was released this week. I know we mentioned it last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I've just been kind of like watching videos of it, and it just looks amazing. It also looks like my PC cannot handle it. I guess similar to Witcher 3, right? We kind of reached the point.
That's coming out next week, I think.
Yeah, I think I finally hit the point where I'm like, oh, my computer really can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I'm the only reason I just installed Witcher 2 Enhanced Edition on my computer, so I'm going to dip into that soon just to prepare for 3. But what I'm really excited about for Witcher 3 coming out is that CD Projekt Red can finally start working in earnest on Cyberpunk 2077.
I mean, you cannot deny that they know how to make a gorgeous game.
Yeah, so they'll be giving it the Witcher treatment, which means it'll be 300 hours long.
Really, really explicit sex.
Yeah,
like
explicit, like Cybertron sex.
300 hours long. 230 of those hours are just hardcore. X-rated. It's really.
Yeah. So there are a couple of big fives that I wanted to talk about in the news this week.
And this is the 5th show. How serendipitous.
Yeah, exactly. I planned it all from the beginning. And it's the 5th month of the year.
Worst master plan ever. But go ahead.
Illuminati confirmed. The International 5 is coming up this summer. How does that strike you? How do those words strike you in your core?
Oh man, I actually got a friend of mine has an extra ticket. He asked if I was interested.
Oh, that must have been a hard call for you to make.
Not really, because I really enjoyed TI3, and then I was really kind of getting pumped. That was probably my peak Dota period, was like TI3 into TI4, and just TI4 was just it was a lame tournament.
Yeah, I think the preliminary rounds were more exciting for me than the final round, because the final round was just a blowout.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always like some good stuff, and pretty much every year you'll have the same complaints about, they're playing the same meta and the same cards, and that's fine. I don't really have a problem with that. But
well, I think this one, maybe, I don't know if they did this, because I was not into Dota until TI4. That was when I sort of got marginally interested in it. But they released a huge balance patch recently, so there'll probably be some big shakeups to the meta leading up to TI5. So hopefully they did that on purpose to sort of prevent the same kind of matches from happening as last year.
And that'll be fun, and I always enjoy it, because I think last year, I'm crazy oversimplifying it, but you kind of had the really creative teams just kind of got steamrolled by the technically proficient teams.
Yeah,
I understand that's the game, but it was still, it was a boring watch. Sometimes, just because Floyd Mayweather is a good fighter doesn't mean his fights are entertaining.
Wow, we are getting super topical this week.
I know.
Crazy the coincidences. I mean, he had the Burger King in his entourage.
I saw that. How great would it be to be that rich that you can just be like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do, and then no one questions it. No one says, hey, we should check on that guy. Maybe he has problems. Nope.
Well, I mean, he's a boxer. He's got mental deficiencies.
He has many problems, and he is an unrepentant asshole. But still.
Yeah, so yeah, they've started selling compendiums. The prize pool is already up over 5 million.
I will say, as just I enjoyed watching. I hope it does well. It's nice having a big American video game tournament.
Won by the Chinese.
Well, it'll be won by foreign teams, but that's fine. I look forward to the one token American team and then watching them lose in the first round, and that's fine.
Well, Evil Geniuses got to the semis at least, and they were the ones that I was rooting for, not having any knowledge of any other teams, but just because they were the American team that made it. So
yeah, hey, that's pretty much always going to happen.
Yeah.
But so what other fives?
Well, Game Informer had a big story on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. They confirmed the name, number one. And number two, they sort of gave some screenshots and details of sort of the game in its early state. And I'm starting to get worried, because one of the things they mentioned was, part of the controls was, in case, they basically implied that there will be non-skateboarding related activities in the game, such as shooting projectiles out of your skateboard.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh, Activision, what are you doing? Just make a good skateboarding game again. Don't try to make the game.
Call of Duty Tony Hawk?
Call of Duty Pro Skater.
Ooh, don't quick, get the trademark on that for Activision snaps it up.
No, they already own Call of and Duty.
They also literally own Tony Hawk. Like, he is just
and
vacuum sealed at headquarters.
He's been talking it up for a long time. So, I mean, I'll still hold out hope, but yeah, some of the other details that came out was that it will be a next gen, or current gen, and previous gen. The previous gen game will be cheaper. But it's console only as of right now. So if you want to play it, get a console.
I don't mind the previous gen cheaper. That's not that. I mean, you just bought a PS3 game yourself this week.
That's episode 5, Games of Our Lives. As you're listening to this, there's probably a new episode of Urquan Masters up on the channel. And if you are listening to this and you make it all the way through, hey, thanks for listening. We made it through an entire month of episodes. And I'm really enjoying this, Mike. I'm hoping you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah, this is fun.
And if you've made it this far, if you like the show, if you're listening to it, why not share it with your friends? Because that is the only way that we get new people to the site. I'm not paying for advertising anywhere else. So if you like the show, if you listened this far, go ahead, share it with somebody you know who you know doesn't already listen. Do us a flavor there. And thanks for listening, and we will see you next week for the Games of Our Lives with Mike and Chris.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to see more videos. If you like the videos, please share them with your friends. If you got feedback for me, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. You could follow me on Twitter at fractruck_games for the latest updates and notifications when new videos go up. And thus, dear viewer, I bid you adieu. Good night.
But I'm going to be in Texas next week, so I'll be able to call in from there.
Fun times. All right.
Yeah, lucky me.
El Paso.
Yep, of course.
Fun times. It's a dry rub. Call back.